Yo, Pedia, and welcome to episode 2 of my YouTube vlog slash podcast. And I'm happy to be here. After the first episode got released yesterday, thank you all for the great response, whether it was personal messages, comments, sharing the video. Got a great response. I think we did something over 500 views in 24 hours. That's great for a first episode, in my opinion. So thank you guys and hope you enjoyed it. Episode 2. So, before I start, I asked for a lot of suggestions about personally what you guys wanted to discuss, what to talk about, and I got a lot of great suggestions. Everything ranging from Greece, travel tips, my favorite preferences in places I've been, Greek islands, things to do with music, my favorite genres, discussing different artists, future projects and collaborations by myself, and what I'm thinking about with music and even things along the lines of, hopefully when things get better and I get back to normal, having co-hosts sitting here in the passenger seat and doing some kind of game show type stuff. So I think, as long as I keep going with this and you guys enjoy the future of this vlog, here's some potential. So it's good. Um, Today I want to talk about, for the second episode, something that has affected me this year, something that I've gone through, something that everyone around me has gone through, and something that I feel not as my job to share. I feel like it's the right thing to do. I got blessed with a crazy experience, and I want to share that to all of y'all. So basically, look, I'm not gonna talk about COVID and the politics of it and the pistevio cafenas and what everyone believes and stuff, because honestly, I don't have the energy for that. But what I'm going to talk about is what happened to me, my experience, what I saw. So please, regardless of your beliefs, regardless of tipistevis, what side you're on, whatever, just put that aside for a second and come on me as I tell you this journey of what happened basically. So, as... Okay. Back as you guys know, some of you may know, I had COVID. I contracted it. My whole family contracted it, and I was the last out of 8 members to get it. I was in the hospital for 3 months, and I was something called intubated, which I'll get into. And basically, I was on a form of life support, and my case was very serious. And what I'm going to be discussing now is something called near-death experiences. So, for those of you who don't know what that is exactly, because I'd heard of it, but I wasn't too familiar. For me, it's basically, someone or a moment in someone's life when their body is at the brink of death, where their body goes through such shock and trauma where basically you're on the edge. So that happened to me. I went through something crazy. Okay, I hope you guys feel this when I'm telling you, because for sure it's something personal to me and something that I want to share. So I went in the hospital on April 11th, 2021 this year. And basically, I had contracted COVID. I didn't have too many symptoms, but it was pretty bad. And I went into the hospital, and my oxygen level was at 50. Now, the healthy person is supposed to be 95 and plus their oxygen level. So, kalai, it was pretty bad. Thank God I got there just on time. And basically, I was in there, they were treating me, and things weren't looking too good. Things were looking too good, and things weren't getting too much better, basically, for the first, I don't know, week. Side note before I continue. After the first day in the hospital, they started giving me medication and stuff. I ended up losing my memory. From April 11th, 12th, say, till about June 2nd when it comes back. So all of this that I'm about to explain going forward, I pretty much did not remember what was happening in real life. But I'm going to tell you guys about what I saw. So, like I said, things were going too well for the first week, 10 days, etc. And anyways, the decision was made to put me on a ventilator. So I went on a ventilator, and for those of you who don't know, the ventilator is basically supports your lungs and helps do the function of your lungs and helps the breathing and while your body's kind of recuperating and stuff. Anyways, I was put on the ventilator and things continued not going too well, and thank God, so I had a blessing that someone who knew my family, a doctor who was not even there at my hospital, was able to convince my doctors to put me on something called ECMO. ECMO is something called the last air. It is essentially the last resort of life support. It's the most extreme form of life support, and the chances of survival are about 50-50. I was on a ventilator for 12 days before going on to ECMO, and if you're over 7 days usually, that is not recommended because it apparently lowers your chance of survival. But thank God, δόξα τω Θεώ, είμαι εδώ σήμερα, I'm still here, and I can share this experience with you guys. So, like I said, for 10 days, not going too well. Then, for about 12 days on the ventilator, still not going too well. So, I get transferred to to a hospital that has this ECMO life support. What ECMO is it basically shuts down a lot of your organs, and through machinery and technology, does the function of your lungs, and it pushes the blood through your body, oxygen, and all the stuff that saves a person essentially. And so, fast forward a little bit, okay? I wake up one day in the hospital, and I realize, I'm in a different room. And now I'm back at the original hospital. ECMO's done. I'm still on a ventilator, but I don't know what's going on here. Right? I didn't even know I was on a ventilator. I wake up and I have no voice. I'm like, what's happened? And it's June 2nd. And I asked the nurse, and I'm mouthing it. Thank God she could read my lips. And she goes, what date is it? It's June 2nd. Guess what? I'm like, what? How? It's June 2nd. Anyways, they start explaining, wow, it's a miracle, you're still here. And nurses are coming into my room and looking at me, and they're like, oh, you're here. You made it. What a miracle. On the verge of tears. Some nurses even cried, and I just there coughing my like, yeah, what happened, And, I couldn't believe it was June 2nd. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, you've been asleep basically for 2 months. And I'm in shock. Worst part is I don't have a voice to express how I'm feeling. I don't, because of the ventilator, they do something in your throat, which you can still see the scars on my throat right now. They put tubes in and stuff for airways. And so I'm only left with my thoughts, right? And I only remember two things, I know the nurses would ask, are you having nightmares? Do you remember anything? It's like, I don't remember anything for the 2 months. No nightmares. But I did have two dreams. And so this is where the story begins and what I kind of want to share with you guys. So, basically, dream number one, which I believe holds a lot of value and potentially, at least in my own opinion, my beliefs, holds a lot of answers. So, basically, these are the only memories I have while in a medically induced coma, on a lot of medication, and for 2 months basically not awake and not really conscious. So, begins dream number one. I'm in a bed in a hospital room, right? But I notice something. I go, there's someone holding me from behind me. They're sitting right behind me in the hospital bed. And I go, why am I so small? And I realize I'm a baby. I look around, and it looks like a hospital room, but there's clear walls on both sides. And I look outside, and there's clouds. And I'm thinking, like, where am I? What's happening here? And, I look behind me, and there's a young woman there. And, brunette. She looks familiar, speaks to me, very comforting. And she goes, don't worry, she goes, I'm your mother. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, she's not my mom. I go, claro de mamá, she's not my mom. But she goes, don't worry, she goes, very calming. And then, some people call this kind of like an out-of-body experience. I get a bird's eye view of the room, and I see me as a baby in this hospital bed with this woman holding me, caring for me. And then she goes to me. She goes, at the end of the bed, okay? You know how every bed has like the bedpost at the end, where your legs are? Usually a piece of wood or something like that, plastic. For me, there was, imagine like bigger than two steering wheels. There's a circle here and a circle here. And they look like long, dark tunnels or slides. And I'm like, why are there two tunnels, at the end of my bed? And the woman holding me goes, I'm gonna have to send you down one. And I'm wondering, I'm like, well, which one, and where do they lead? She goes, one of them will lead to a good destination, and one of them, you might not be as happy with it. And I go, well, where am I going? And she goes to me, I'm gonna send you down the left tunnel. And she goes, don't worry, you got this. She sends me down the left tunnel, and I remember sliding. And I'm going down this tunnel, and I swear to God, this is what I remember. And I come out in another hospital, and everyone's running around, because this baby's being born, and this is important, and I start coming out into this world, and all of a sudden, there's a panic. He's born too early, this is the wrong time, and I get sucked back this tunnel, and I go back up, and I'm like, what happened? I was about to be born. And she goes, you didn't stay down. And I remember this woman looks around, and I remember looking outside these clear windows in the room, and there's people dressed in all white, and they're walking around, but no one's looking inside yet. She goes, no one's seen you. I'm gonna send you back down, but you have to stay down, because it's not your time to stay. And she goes, so she sends me down the left tunnel. And I remember as I'm going down the left tunnel, there are a few things I remember specifically. On top of the left tunnel is an icon of Agios Nectarios, or Saint Nectarios in the Greek Orthodox religion. This icon belonged to my Pappou, who had passed while I was in the hospital and unconscious, only a few rooms away from me. And I remember on the right side of the bedpost, there was these boxing gloves right here. So I don't know, even during this near-death experience, though I had my boxing gloves. So that's why I love them. And, she goes, and who is this lady? In my belief, she said she was my mother. She was caring for me, and I was in this room in the sky with clouds around, and she was sending me down a long dark tunnel back to earth. I think she was Yiayia, who is known in English as the Virgin Mary. So she sends me down. She goes, it's not your time. She goes, I'm gonna send you down, but you gotta stay down. She sends me down the tunnel, and I remember just sliding through this tunnel as a baby. But I remember seeing a map of the world, and it's like an old rustic kind of map. But there's a red dot, and it's leading, it's going around the whole world. It's like, where is he gonna land? And it stops right in Greece. And I kid you not, like on the brink of, this was almost death. I don't know, I didn't know where I was or what was happening. But I landed in Greece, which, in real life, for reality right now, I'm born in Toronto, Canada. But I've always felt this crazy connection, as you guys can probably tell, to Greece. So, anyways, I'm born there. And I remember everyone in this room, I'm born and my mother and father are there. And they're holding me and they're like, he's born. And they're like, the whole world begins to celebrate. And then I get visions of New York Times Square, London, England, Athens, Greece, all these cities around the world, and the whole world is celebrating. He's born. Vasilios is born. He made it. He's healthy. I'm thinking, well, what's happened? Why is everyone celebrating me? And I remember they put me down after I was born on this little table where they usually put like the babies, And they go, we have to choose things to dedicate to this baby and the year he's born. They usually have like, depending on what time of year, your star sign or the astronomy stuff. There's, the animal that's representative of each year, the year of the ox and stuff like that. Well, they choose from me an icon, and it's an icon of Saint Nectarios. Then they have boxing gloves like these, little with a country's flag on it, and it happens to be Greece. And they go, which color scheme do we choose to dedicate to this year? And I see a bunch of different colors. I see white and black. I see green and black. I see red and black. I see white and blue. I see red and blue. And then it lands on this shade, blue and white. And they go, this is the color. And I see, so Ios Nectarios, the icon, Saint Nectarios, myself as a baby, and these boxing gloves. And the whole world is celebrating. Vasily made it. This baby is born. And they were calling me, this is so random, they were calling me the royal baby. And then I thought that was strange because my name Vasily, Vasilios in Greek, comes from the word Vasilia, which also means king. So it's like the king baby, King Vasilios. And I was like, I don't know why they're celebrating. I go, but I guess this time I made it down to earth and I stayed down. Then, so that's the end of that first dream. The second dream I'll get to on another episode. But basically, what do I take from this? I get out of the hospital, so I wake up June 2nd, and I end up getting out June 28th. And there's a lot of, uncertainty of when I'm going to come home. Truth be told, and I found this out later, a lot of the nurses and doctors thought I was going to be coming home a lot later if I made it home. I mean, they had told some of my family that the soonest they expected me coming home was October. It's September right now, and I've been home for 3 months, thank God, so almost 3 months. So, I made it here. But what do I take from this? I start finding out more and more and more of my story because they couldn't tell me all the details while I was in the hospital recovering. And I find out that, I had a heart scare while I was on this ECMO life support and machine and the ventilator. And my heart just about stopped. There was different stories about if it did or if it didn't. But, one nurse said it hadn't completely stopped, but it was on its way to stopping. My heartbeat was falling. And I found out that I needed to get resuscitated twice. Resuscitation, they had performed CPR twice for 4 minutes, they said. And they brought me back, and I survived it. And then, a couple weeks later, my sister comes across this video on Instagram, I believe, and there's a lady talking about her COVID-19 near-death experience and how she saw long, dark tunnels. That, triggered my interest. Why don't I start researching some of this now that I'm healthier and a good mindset and stuff? And I find out long, dark tunnels are one of the 5 big signs of a near-death experience. Seeing someone, from your culture or religion is a big sign of a near-death experience. And a lot of times, feeling like you're somewhere else, may be heaven. At least that's where I believe I was. You're there, and they decide whether or not it's your time, which I was literally told, it's not your time. I'm going to send you back down. And, so when I got healthy enough, I started doing all this research, I found out that I'd be resuscitated. I read an article about, I believe it was a paramedic who had been resuscitated in a near-death experience where he was electrocuted, and he came down this tunnel, and it didn't work the first time, and the second time it worked, and it was because they had performed CPR to bring him back to life. So I believe through this dream is what I'm calling it because I was sleeping, but when I was in this medically induced coma state, I believe I left for a little bit this earth, this world. At least my consciousness, my soul did. And I went up to where I believe was heaven, the gates of heaven as they call it. And Yiayia was there, and she guided me and told me, I got you, don't worry, but it's not your time, and I'm going to send you back down. And for me, honestly, I believe that religion, belief, spirituality, it's a beauty, and everyone has the right to believe what they want. You have the belief to practice the way you want. You But I believe being connected to yourself, your your beliefs in that way is beautiful. And for me, being a Christian Greek Orthodox, that's the way that I choose to believe. And it's not because I was raised or told to believe that, but because in my heart, in my mind, in my soul, I feel it. I've witnessed God's miracles before. I've heard of stories and that have eventually made it to why I'm here today and why I'm the person I am today. But through these past few months, I witnessed a miracle of my own. I had every doctor, 20 doctors, 20 nurses telling me you're a miracle that you're still here and everything. And I believe that Panagia, the Virgin Mary, together with Saint Nectarios, together with God and Jesus Christ and all the angels and saints that we have, in our world and the next, decided that it wasn't my time and that they sent me back down here to share this story. And I'm not telling nobody what to believe, but I believe I left and I came down. And the cool part is, you search this up online, people who their accounts of near-death experiences, almost everyone has a very similar experience of, the light and these long dark tunnels and seeing someone, whether it be a religious, spiritual person figure or, a family member, an ancestor who's not here with us anymore on earth. And basically, it's given me a lot of hope in my life. It's given me a lot of belief. And it kind of answers a lot of questions, that I think we have as humans, as Christians, as Orthodox about is, do you go somewhere? And in that little time where my body was fighting and I was on this near-death experience, I went somewhere. And I'm back here today and I'm talking to you guys. So God bless you all. Thank you for praying for me, all of those who did. All those who didn't know the situation, I hope, this was a story you could at least enjoy. God bless your families. I wish nothing but health, happiness, and blessings to everyone in this world, regardless of politics, religion, nationalities, and stuff. I hope everyone's well. I hope the world gets out of these situations. But I hope for those who maybe were searching for an answer, were searching for guidance, I hope this story gives you a little bit more confidence in our beliefs, in your beliefs, in knowing that we got angels watching us, we got God watching us, we got people watching us wherever you are. So everything in life happens for a reason, and don't worry about it. So, ad. Tatapumba. We'll talk on the next episode because this one has been pretty long already. I hope you enjoyed my dream. I'll get into my second dream next time. And we'll talk. And now I'm going to drink my coffee because I've been sitting here for like 20 minutes. Tara. Ad. Bye.